Hey guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today is one of my very favorite videos all year where I get to walk through the planner for this upcoming school year. So just today, I received the sample copy in the mail. And so, of course, I want to show it to you just as soon as I can. So, of course, we're going to dive into the inside. But before that, I want to talk a little bit about the big changes we have for this year. So this is the third year that we've done the advisor planner. It has been a journey. There has been a lot of advisors that have given me excellent feedback. I've given lots of surveys out there. There is a little link in the back of the planner where you can, at any point in the year, scan it and give feedback. And I have compiled all of that and made a bunch of changes every single year to really make this exactly what you guys want and need out of a planner. And so this, in my opinion, I think is the best one yet. I've thought that every year so far, but based on the feedback and based on how advisors actually use it once they get it, I think this one, it just is almost perfect. And so I'm not going to say that because that's just my opinion, and really what matters more is your opinion. But of course, I hope you love it just as much as I do. So let me walk you through the changes so you know what to expect in this year's planner. So if you've been following along for a while, you will recognize this planner. So this is the very first one we did. Overall, very well received. She was well loved. A couple of complaints that we had about this planner is that this elastic didn't stand the test of time. It didn't last very long on most people's planners. Just as people are bringing it in and out of their bag as they go from home to school, and they carry it around, this didn't last very long. So we noted that. And then also on the inside, you know, if you have it open, it's very large. It takes up a lot of space. It's like bigger than my face, a lot of space on your desk. And since it, you know, if you're using it, then it's going to be fully open. It just took up too much space. So for the second edition, we made a ton of changes. So this is last year's planner. It is a very different look and feel. This cover is super reflective. You can see me in it there. We made it coil bound instead of lay flat. We added tabs that were highly requested here. We made a ton of changes to the inside. And then obviously with that coil, you can flip it around and you can use it like a regular notebook. Based on the surveys from advisors, we wanted to keep it roughly the same size. So this planner, the first one, is a little bit taller and a little bit narrower, while this one's a little bit wider, especially with those tabs, but overall about the same size. The paper quality is better, and overall the content was better as well. However, because the paper quality was better, the paper was thicker, meaning this planner is huge. It's quite uncomfortable, I think, to carry. It's not something that I would want to bring home and bring to school with me back and forth. Just to give you an idea of comparison thickness wise, it's almost double the first year. And honestly, that is due to a better paper quality, which obviously is a priority with a planner when you're writing on both sides of it, but not so much that it makes it uncomfortable to carry. So that was the biggest complaint, is that this is just too big. It's too big overall. And because it's so big and heavy and thick, this coil didn't quite hold all year long. Even really early on, I was hearing from advisors, my back cover has fallen off. And so that's really frustrating when you really want a planner to at least last the school year, right? Like that's kind of the point. But this project is an evolution, and it's something that you guys are building with me and giving me feedback to make these changes and listen to what you guys need and want and what's working and what's not. And so even though this elastic didn't work and this coil was falling apart and XYZ, whatever the problem is that might happen, I really appreciate knowing that and hearing that, because that's how I make changes for the next year. What's great is now we've done a lay flat version and we've done a coil version, and we could really compare and contrast and see what works best. So given all that feedback, I made quite a few edits structurally, while the inside is almost identical to last year. So given that feedback from you guys, I have put together the third edition, which is the 24-25 Organized Advisor Planner. I really feel like this edition is going to solve a lot of the struggles we felt with the first two, and I'm super excited to see what you guys think. So let me walk you through what to expect for this year. The first thing, the most notable change, is the size. This is so much more comfortable to hold. It is significantly thinner than last year's and only a little bit thicker than the very first year, but much better page quality. When comparing the overall size, you can see this is much smaller than the first year. So I know with a smaller planner, what you might be thinking is, no, I really wanted the bigger paper size. I needed all that space. And I totally get it. I'm the type of person that needs a lot of space to write notes and doodles and put my stickers and my sticky notes and space in the margins to put any random thought that comes into my ADHD brain. I get it. I totally understand. I did a ton of research and I adjusted the layout to make sure that you still had plenty of space to do all of those things that you need to do. So just to give you an idea, this is an Erin Condren planner, which is arguably one of the most popular planners out there. It's the planner that I used for 10 years. I really love this planner and I recommend it if you're not a journalism teacher. Ours is actually a little bit bigger. So I think that you'll find it's actually much more comfortable, even though we're sacrificing a little bit of that page real estate. All right, so once you get your hands on this baby, the next thing you'll notice is that there is no elastic here. It just wasn't worth adding it there if it's just gonna fall out. And unfortunately, due to the production of how this cover is made, there isn't a really great way to hold it in there without adding bulk to the planner. So I just said, we're gonna ditch it. We're not gonna have the elastic anymore. I don't think it was something that was a real deal breaker to a lot of people. And we do have a bookmark here to be able to mark your spot. And so you don't have to worry about using the elastic to do that because you can use the bookmark. What you'll also notice and maybe be upset about is that it doesn't include the tabs. So again, due to the production of this type of binding, we can't just add tabs like we did with the coil. So instead, because I know how important tabs are to a lot of you and I totally understand, I have created a set of do-it-yourself tabs. They come in 4 different color options. You just stick them directly onto the page right here where the word is. It comes with instructions and it comes with a placement guide, so it's super easy. It's actually a fun little DIY craft project if you think about it that way. All right, the last thing structurally is that in the very back, we do have a pocket back here where you can throw your sticker sheets. You can put a couple sticky notes, whatever you want right there, a ruler maybe. And that way you keep everything in one place and you can take it on the go because it doesn't weigh 1,000,000 pounds anymore. So speaking of stickers, I'm going to go ahead and take a second to talk about the accessories we have available. So we are going to do stickers again. So these are very specific to yearbook advising activities. So things like picture day, retake day, rep visit, first day of school, last day of school, general teaching stuff, birthdays for all your staff members, when to submit your cover, when distribution day is, when your banquet is, all those super specific advisor things that you want to label. We also have an adhesive pen loop that you just take a sticker off the back and stick this to your back cover and you can attach a pen to your planner. And then speaking of pens, we are doing a special bulk order of these, which are like the TikTok viral Bic Intensity Click Gel Pen. I will be honest, this is the best pen I've ever used. I don't know exactly what kind of sorcery they're doing with it. And for whatever reason, it's a Bic pen, but you can't buy it in the store. You have to order it wholesale with like a logo on it. So I'm going to do that and make them available to you guys because honestly, you need to experience this pen. It's literally the best pen I've ever used, which is interesting because it's kind of fat, like compared to other pens. I do kind of hold my pen weird, but yeah, it's great. So I'm excited for you guys to try this. The ones that I ordered are also in white, not black. This is just a sample. All right, so that's it for the outside of the planner. Let's go ahead and dive into the inside. Okay, so the first thing you'll see when you open the planner is the title page. You can, of course, put your contact info here just in case you lose it. Someone can get your planner back to you because if you're anything like me, your planner is your lifeline. And then this part right here is actually really important. So once you buy your planner on July 1st, once the planner actually starts, you're going to receive an email with a password, and that's what you're going to put in at this link right here. And that's how you're going to access all the digital resources as well as the digital version of this planner. So if there's anything in here that you want to print out and use with your students or upload to their portal so they can utilize it, you can do that using the digital resources that you can get right there. Then this first spread is basically all back to school stuff. So I don't know about you, but when I went to PD, there was always like this laundry list of things that had to be done. And so this gives you one place to put them at the beginning of the school year when my brain is mashed potatoes. It's all in one place and I don't have to remember it. Things that you have to bring, usually from home, things that you have to print, usually to get signed or something like that. Things that you need to turn in might be sub-plans or your contact info to the front office, whatever it might be. And then things to laminate. I just always felt like I had a ton of stuff to laminate for my walls, my built-in boards, whatever it was, there's a ton of stuff. So that gets stuff out of your brain and into one place. So then we get into a goal setting spread. I am really big into goal setting. I think that it is one of the best ways to actually accomplish things that you want to accomplish. This goes along with one of my favorite phrases that I say in every workshop that I teach is prior proper planning prevents poor performance. I literally want a tattoo of it right here on my arm, but I am too chicken to do that so far. I really believe in planning ahead, and I think that anytime that you can be proactive versus reactive is going to yield a better result. in life, but also in journalism. And so this is a place for you to write down some goals related to teaching, related to your publication specifically, and then also some personal goals, because something that's really important to me with Organized Advisor is that we're not just helping the advisor with their publications and as a teacher, but really as a person, and making sure that you know that you're not alone, that what you feel, we all feel, and that what you're feeling is normal. Next, we have a couple annual calendars. So this one is an annual planning calendar. So it's July 2024 through June 2025. And this gives you a spot to put down all the dates that you know are going to happen, but you're maybe not quite ready to commit to writing back here in the planner. So things like school breaks, early dismissal, homecoming, that kind of thing is what you put here. Then one more of those, but this one is specifically for birthdays. So especially if you have a large staff, keeping track of all those birthdays can be a lot. And so this is a space for you to put all those down. So when you start planning for the month, you can refer back to this and make sure you get them all. I also use this for my friends and family. I like to keep everything literally in one place, not just work related stuff. So I would use it for everyone. All right, then we have a password tracker, which I know in 2024, there are lots of ways to secure passwords, but I know in education also, there's like 87 requirements you have to have for all the different tools. They all have their own password and it can get really annoying. And so this is just a place to put all of that. However, if you keep this on your desk and you have students that might be near it, obviously use discretion with what you put on this page. Then we have some logs. So this one is for your professional development, any sort of workshops or training that you do, so you can track your hours. And this one is a pretty simple communication log, so you can track who you talk to and what day. Obviously, there's not enough space here to really go into detail about what the conversation was, but you can always put a page number that goes back to one of the notes pages back here, or it's just enough to give you a little reference of when the last time you spoke to a vendor was, a rep was, your admin, whatever it may be. And then we have a recommendation letter tracker, which is mostly geared towards high school teachers, but I actually have had a lot of middle school advisors reach out and say that this actually was helpful because they do have to write rec letters. They're less formal than the ones for college, but for things like National Junior Honor Society, or even getting into like advanced band or, the yearbook staff, like those are still things that recommendation letters are useful for. And so I always have my students give me a resume. It doesn't have to be a formal resume, but more so like a list of accomplishments. And then if I've written it, and then if I've sent it. Then just a quick list of all the national organizations related to journalism and a link to where you can view your state organizations, as well as the workshops and conventions coming up for the next year. Some of those dates are TBD, so be sure to look out for those, but the links are there if you need them. Then we have a section all about your publication. So obviously you're going to know this information inside and out, but I do recommend that you fill it out, because in the event of an emergency, someone that is maybe coming in trying to help you fill in your shoes. I've had several situations where I've had to go kind of help a staff over the finish line. An advisor had her baby a little bit earlier, or some, circumstances happen. And so this allows me to go in and really quickly see, okay, here's where we're at with the publications, and this is what our deadlines are. And I don't have to go and bug that advisor when they're obviously not available. And so this kind of thing is really helpful to, again, have everything in one place. So then we have a bunch of guides and checklists for you as you put together content and helpful resources for your staff for the beginning of the school year. There's also lots of spaces for you to add in additional notes. I also recommend that as you go and you do this, you work through it, you're adding stuff and you're like noticing, oh, I should have put this in there. Write down stuff for next year. So if you realize, oh, I missed something, go ahead and put that here. So that way at the end of the year, you can go back and reference this and look at, see, oh, I wish I put that in there. So you can do it for next year. We have a big glossary of scholastic journalism terms. These are super helpful for brand new advisors, but they're also really helpful for students. So if you are, using common language in the classroom and you're referring to things like a ladder, that's going to be a new term to somebody that's brand new to Yearbook. And so, having this on hand can be really helpful to either do some trivia or do some little quizzes, or just refresh your memory if you forget certain terms. Some more checklists. This one's for a back to school boot camp. A little photography refresher. Again, if you're a brand new advisor, you might be coming from English or art or math or science. There's all kinds of backgrounds that advisors come from these days. And if you're not familiar with photography, it can be really intimidating. And so I wanted to give you a little handy guide. This is also a really great handout for students. Both of these, I would print this probably double-sided and give it to all of your students. You can also print this smaller onto like a little card, laminate it, and throw it in your camera bag, and that can help students as well. Another handy guide about photography. mostly about composition. When I teach photography to yearbook students, obviously we do want to go over settings. We want to talk about technical photography, but in the beginning, we just need them taking pictures. And so really getting them to understand what is a good picture, what is a yearbook worthy picture, how to make a photo interesting, how to tell a story with a photo. That's honestly more important than the settings of the camera, in my opinion. Obviously, we want them to be learning that too. But, you know, if they can take a good picture that's interesting, that's telling a story, that's candid, that's going to be really good. And the technology these days can take care of the rest if, you know, we're in a time crunch as far as what we have time to teach. This is a quick little lesson about writing captions. Here is the anatomy of a spread, as well as the Society of Professional Journalists Code of Ethics, just helpful to have on hand. This is another checklist for the production process. So I've broken down the production process into a bunch of steps: prepare, plan, promote, produce, proof, present, and then party. And so this is a big, long checklist of all the things that an advisor needs to do or be aware of or take action on. I will say, and it does explain it right here, but it's not linear. So it's not like you're going to start at the beginning of the year and just go through each down the list. This is kind of something that you want to read and be aware of all throughout. Then we have a yearbook sales tracker. So at the beginning of the year, you want to map this out. So you want to put the goal amount of books right here. Say it's 1,000 books. I know that's a big goal, but just as an example. So then each little step down is 10% of that. So we'd have 900, 800, whatever, and we'd have them all the way down to 10%, which is 100 books. And then you color these in as you reach each milestone, kind of like a thermometer filling up. And then you want to go ahead and map out rewards all along the way, not necessarily in every single box, but especially the milestones, maybe 30, 60, 90%, maybe 50%. You throw a pizza party for the staff. And so throughout the year, you can work towards these. This can also be a really good activity to do with your students to get buy-in. So they come up with their rewards, but also you talk about how many books you sold last year, how many more is a realistic goal to set for this year, and, you know, start talking about how to sell the book and marketing. Then we have an activity fund tracker, so that you put your starting balance right here and anything that you purchase, so you can just keep track. I always recommend that advisors keep track of this on their own as well. The finance department at a school is a very busy department, and they are wonderful, but they are busy, and you know, they're human, so they might make mistakes. I've definitely had situations where funds have been miscoded from one account or to the other or whatever, and I've had to go track it down. And something like this helps to know exactly what I have spent. And then we have our yearbook ladder. So this is something we had mixed feedback on in the survey. Everyone uses the ladder digitally. I definitely recommend that. I have a template for a digital version of your ladder on the website. But it's helpful sometimes when you're at home and you're just thinking about something, you're like, what page is that on? You grab this and you can look at it. And it's also good for planning. If you're writing in pencil or erasable pen, you can move stuff around. Sometimes it's easier on paper than it is on the computer just to kind of quickly do it. Draw an arrow from one page to the other. That's a lot faster sometimes than editing the digital ladder. And then this one is empty intentionally, so you can photocopy it if you want to. And then for those really big books, you can add additional pages in here if needed. All right, so then we go into marketing your yearbook. So this spread is mostly instructional, talking about what is marketing and how we market yearbooks and how we communicate our message to the community so they can know how and when to buy the yearbook. And then we have a marketing calendar. And so this calendar, there's instructions on how to use it right here, is meant to be a tool that you can plan ahead to create marketing campaigns such as flyers, emails, posters, but also social media things that might be related to all the events of the school. The idea here is that this is the master calendar of everything happening at the school, which obviously you might need to expand on. You might want to make a digital version of this because there's 18 things happening on August 9th. You know, that's totally fine. But then you have a way that you're going to cover it via channel 1, which might be a yearbook spread. It might be a module. It might be social media. It might be a video. We don't know. And then also a second channel if there's additional coverage opportunities. For instance, if you're an advisor of a yearbook and a newspaper, you know, how are you going to tell those stories in 2 different ways in each publication? So we have that all the way through June 2025. And then at the very end of the advisor guide, the first 60 pages are this like advisor guide. is the end of the year activity checklist. So we have our yearbook distribution checklist as well as our banquet checklist, and then a little bit of room for notes before we walk into the monthly spreads. So these are very, very similar to last year. One big change that I know is going to disappoint some people is that I went ahead and removed the advisor advice from all the spreads. The reason is it was valuable real estate that you can take notes in if you want to. I am going to continue to provide advisor advice, but in a couple different ways through social media and email and stuff like that. So it's still going to be part of the planner and what Organized Advisor in general does. It's just not going to actually be written in here because I wanted you to be able to use that space however you want. So we obviously have a spread for each month, and then we have a spread for each week. So this layout is also very similar to last year. It is Monday through Friday, and then the weekends down here, down the side. And then we have room for 5 preps or subjects across the top. I just want to say right now, if you have more than 5 preps and you're a yearbook advisor, I feel for you. So hopefully this works for most people. When I asked and surveyed, most people said between 4 and 5. And so I felt like 5 was safer. If you don't have 5 and you say you only have 4, then you can use this last one for like personal stuff. Use it however makes the most sense to you. There is one little checkbox here as a reminder to take attendance. I know most people have to take attendance every single class period. That wasn't feasible because there's lots of different types of school schedules and stuff like that. So this is mostly just a reminder to take attendance in general for each day. And then we have a big to-do list over here of get stuff done. I am a big to-do list person also. I like to write every little task down that I have to do, even some that I've already done, just so I can cross them off. So if you're anything like me in that aspect, then you'll love this big checklist. So that's the majority of the planner. At the very end of the month, there is a spread for your monthly reflections that goes back to that very first page that we talks about your goals. And so it gives you a space to reflect on what went well this month, what you could have done better, what you will continue, what you'll start doing, what you'll stop doing, what you're grateful for, and then where you're at with some of your goals. And you can track them and kind of color those in, again, like a thermometer. I think this is a really great practice to do in general, but I also think it's a really great thing to have students go through. And maybe it's not monthly, maybe it's weekly, or maybe it's a quarter or a grading period. But having students really take the time to debrief the progress they've made and reflect on it really helps them take stock of their involvement, own their grades a little bit more, work harder the next time. So overall, I think this is a really useful tool personally, as well as, when you're teaching students. So then at the end of the planner, we have more goodies. So this is another annual calendar, but for the next year. So as you start to get some dates on here, such as portrait days or holidays or big school events like homecoming, you can mark those down and plan around them. Then we have another place for some reflections of things that went well this year and things that you're going to change next year. Don't forget this page is back here. I use this page all year long. So as something happens in the beginning of the year that I want to do differently next year, come back here and write that down. You're not going to remember it next year when it's, June, July, and you're planning for the next year. Like, what the heck did I want to change? Just take notes along the year and come back to them. Next, we have what is actually one of the most popular pages, which I thought was really interesting, but it is a template for meeting notes. So I would recommend using these with any meetings that you have with administration, with your rep, or with your editors, and training your editors to use something like this to run an organized meeting. So it gives you a space to put your topic of the meeting, the date, the agenda, which is all the things you want to talk about, and then some meeting notes. Obviously, you might need more note space than this, totally fine, but it gives you a little bit to get started. And then at the bottom, which might be most important, is action items. So what the task is that needs to be done following this meeting, who it's assigned to for that accountability, and then what the due date is. So I've talked to some advisors that have trained their students to run meetings like this and use this as a template. And they've said that their meetings are actually so much more productive and organized because they go through point by point. They don't get as distracted, and then things actually get followed up on. So I definitely recommend using this. There's a bunch of them in here. And then, like I said, you can also print out the digital version and give it to your students. Then we have some normal notebook paper and some dot grid paper, which I know is hard to see on camera, but there are little dots there. And that is pretty much it. One thing that is missing from this sample copy is the coloring pages. Those are included. There are 8 of them. So don't worry if you love those. Those are definitely still included. Thank you so much for watching. I am really excited to get these into your hands. I think this year especially you are going to love it. And I am so excited to hear what you guys think. As always, please do give me your feedback. I read and listen to every single comment, and we're going to make changes for the next year and make this as best as it can be. So please do reach out and let me know what you think. Real quick before I let you go, if you want a copy of this year's advisor planner, it is really important that you pre-order. Because this is a custom project and I'm not ordering a ton of them, I'm not ordering 10,000 copies of it, it's really important that you pre-order because I have to pre-order. It works almost the exact same way that a yearbook does. Of course, I do order a couple extra in case something happens, but I can't guarantee you a copy if you don't pre-order. And it breaks my heart to have to tell you that I'm sold out. So please pre-order as soon as you can so I can be sure to get you a copy. As always, everything I do with Organized Advisor comes directly from advisor requests. So if there's ever anything I can do to help you, your wish is literally my command. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!